Hello and welcome back to what I wished I'd known about self-publishing before I got started, or its variations thereof. I am Karlie with Dragon Key Press, and as promised, I'm going to try to go a little bit more in detail about Microsoft Word and styles. So let's go ahead and pull up a couple of websites. I've got redlinels.com and the actual Microsoft website, so we can kind of delve a little bit into what exactly they are. Going off the basic definitions here, this guide basically has a difference between styles, uppercase, styles, lowercase. In the uppercase, they're basically referring to the Microsoft Word feature that deals with formatting attributes. And for the lowercase, they're basically referring to format attributes, but in a general sense, aka not a pre-programmed, hey, we push this button, yay, it does it all kind of thing. So, benefits of styles, if you don't already know, because not everybody has used Microsoft Word to format. I did kind of give you a slight overview of that in the last video. Templates and all that jazz you can get through KDP. You don't have to pay for those, by the way. They're totally free. You don't even have to log in with an account. You can just go there, search, bada bing, there you go. Anyway, the benefits of using styles are that it actually will save you a lot of time. So you don't have to go through every single paragraph, every single line, making it all the right format. And when you're doing a long document like a book, it's so much easier to have this little styles that you can just click and say, yep, this is what I want it to be, and boom, there you go. It does the whole thing until you break sections. And we'll go a little bit into that in a minute. It also makes it so that your formatting is consistent based off of the attributes you set. And if you do it manually, sometimes it gives you issues when you run it through the Smashwords meat grinder or through KDP's little pre-flight, as it were. So it's better to actually use styles if you're going the Microsoft Word route. There are, of course, other ways that you can format your manuscript, lots of programs and services I have never used, so I couldn't tell you a single thing about them other than what I've heard. Apparently Draft2Digital will do it for you, but other programs and all that, why bother with that when you actually probably already have Word on your computer, unless you're a Mac, and then I'm not sure what standard on that one. But there's kind of a hierarchy with these styles, and it's like king, queen, blah, 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 blah. It's basically just based off of importance. For example, they're saying in their article they have different sections, such as Section 1, dogs and cats, Section 2, hamsters, gerbils, skinny pigs. Those are level 1 headings. That's a hierarchy of headings. And setting all these things up, oh my gosh, it can be such a pain. But I'm kind of just giving you a basic heads up. This is one place you can go to kind of get the thing there. But we're going to go over built-in styles that are built into a template. Not necessarily automatically, woohoo, I opened Word, where are my styles? No, these are styles that automatically will pop up when you use the formatted templates, like the ones we did on KDP last time. And believe me, it's the fastest, easiest way to learn how to do these. I tried it the old school way of trying to put everything in yourself, and oh my gosh, if you don't know what you're doing, it is a pain in the tush, not to mention gives you a headache, and probably makes you want to throw your computer across the room because it's just such a huge learning curve. And here it gets all kinds of technical. I'm going to let you go through it yourself because I don't want to spend the whole video kind of going over what somebody else did with modifying blah, 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 because why do that when I can show you myself? But you can create new styles, you can use old styles, you can use them to do table of contents, yada, yada, yada. Now, in the Microsoft Word web page about this, it basically says, built-in styles are combinations of formatting characteristics you can apply to text to quickly change its appearance. For example, the heading 1 style might make your text bold, a certain font, a certain size, a different heading might apply a different font, italic, different size, blah, 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 just depending on what you have it set to, what it's defaulted to, etc. Styles applications means easy table of contents organization. If you want to go and do it that way, I say templates. I love templates. And I've been doing this long enough, at least 5+ books in the actual chapter book format, and it is a lifesaver. Just let me tell you, super lifesaver just to worry about the templates. So if you are the nitty-gritty who likes to go through and learn how to do it yourself the hard way, by all means, support.microsoft.com, and you can actually just Google or whatever search engine you prefer, Microsoft Style Guide, and it'll pull it up for you somewhere. Great thing about the styles is they cascade, so when you make one change to your document, it does it to every area where you're using that particular style. And it's beautiful. So if you have a heading and you decide to change heading 1 to, I want it to be Times New Roman instead of Arial or Comic Sans, it will automatically apply to everything you have told I want in the style of heading 1. So that saves you a ton of time, a ton of headache. Of course, sometimes it's best to just kind of look through and make sure it's all happy honky-dory, but it makes it so much nicer. Believe me when I say this. But there are some restrictive formatting changes. You can lock them down in your document to make sure they don't have any wiggle room to be changed by something else. Sometimes Microsoft does glitchy things and, But here, templates are much more efficient and kinder to others if you're based in styles. And for those of us who may not really understand styles as much as we would like, because honestly, even though I've been doing this for I don't even know how long, the whole thing about styles and how to set them up from Jump Street just kind of boggles my mind. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go with the templates. But you can have templates that have pre-existing themes, styles, layouts, blah, 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 etc. Well, we are using the ones that I have gotten somewhere else. As you see all my lovely, wonderful equipment in the background. So I've already pulled up the blank template. And this one I have from way back in the day when it was CreateSpace instead of KDP, because I downloaded every single possible size just in the off chance that they didn't have it, which they do, so yay! But blank template, I would suggest having that if you want to kind of cut and paste and decide what you want. If you don't mind just kind of trying to delete and kill things on the main formatted template, by all means, let's go for it. I also have, it's already a published book, but hey, why not? Let's go ahead and play with it. Here is my unknown elf, and we're going to pretend that I have not previously formatted it. So for our book title, we're just going to say unknown elf. Hey, here is the author name. See, it's pretty easy so far and all that jazz. And then, of course, over here you have the copyright page. This is all part of the front matter right now, and it's actually going to format a little differently. This is all in a particular formatting style for front matter that will end pretty much right here. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to have to deal with setting up individual blah blah blahs for your front matter versus your actual body of the book, templates. I'm going to drill this into your head so much you're going to hate the word. Okay, now you may have noticed that on a lot of books you will see a little spiel about there being nothing purposely drawn from real life, blah blah blah, or permissions were granted, blah 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 blah, copyright, law, whatever, etc., etc. Yes, it is a thing. I'll actually pull up one of those in one of my other books so that you can kind of see, and yes, you can copy paste from other previously formatted stuff. And it makes life so nice. Yes, I'm in a bit of a sing-song mood. Anyway, I'm going to just pull up a PDF of this one and say, show me the formatted stuff, because it's beautiful. Of course, when you're looking at it in the Adobe Microsoft format, it is not as pretty, and sometimes it takes a minute for it to load, because why not? So for the sake of showing it in an actual decent format, we're going to go like this. On this one, it shows you page by page. But there's my title page. And see, on here, my copyright page, I actually have up here, here's the copyright, the year, website, who the cover art was by, and then all rights reserved, no part of this may be reproduced, blah, 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 blah. That's pretty standard. So when you do format your book, please include something like that in your copyright page. Also, the whole idea of this is a work of fiction, unless it is actual non-fiction. And then, of course, you need to say, this is not a work of fiction, names, characters, etc. were used with permission, blah, 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 blah. This is also where you're going to put your ISBN, your Library of Congress control number, which requires you to put your imprint name, whatever it is you're using, and the city, state, and if you're in the United States, like I am, you have to put USA. And then printed in the United States, that information right there is actually going to be given to you to basically more or less cut and paste straight into your document from the Library of Congress when they send it to you. But, you know, this is kind of an example of how it looks. Here's where my header starts. And then for mine, I like to put a second title page with, you know, kind of a logo for the book. And then part of my front matter, I actually have a map. And notice there is a blank page between, because that actually is a front and back type of page. This would actually be on the left side of the book, so that this starts on the right side, or vice versa, whichever way it wants. And now we're starting into the actual interior formatting. So let's come back over here, and we're going to kind of look over here. I'm not going to bother with this right now, because, hey, we just kind of did that. Here is some things the template gives you as an option for your front matter. Adding a dedication. I like to do it where I say something like, to my great-grandma, or to my nephews, or to whoever. And you see a lot of authors like to put something in there like, to so-and-so who helped me do blah, 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 or whatever. In the original Unknown Elf version, it's to my husband who helped me get all the logistics of all the fight scenes and all that kind of thing, more or less. Then, of course, blank page, because on these ones, it likes to start them on the right side as opposed to the left side. Here it's got a sample table of contents. Now, if you look up here, you can see this is where your styles are. So right here, it's under normal style. This is actually a table. You can kind of see the difference there with the little tabs. As opposed to over here, where the style is using is a front matter style. So you can actually go up in there and you can say, hey, let's modify it. And this is kind of what it looks like when you're playing with the modified version of your styles in not the most up-to-date Microsoft Word, but it's one that I actually don't have to pay a subscription for. So personally, I recommend getting ones you don't have to pay a subscription for if you can, because reasons. Anyway, you can name your styles, and you can see all the different ones I've got. Most of these are kind of pre-built in, but the ones that are specific to this template are going to start with CSP. So we've got chapter body text for a first paragraph, because first paragraph tends to not be indented, whereas the rest of them do indent. The chapter title, the front body text, and then, of course, there's the footer and headers and all those jazz, which just kind of and then specifically TOC or table of contents, etc. And you can just kind of look through and play with these if you really want to. I'm not going to play with them because I don't need to. But moving on. Acknowledgements, if you're going to add that, is not necessarily something you have to have. Some people put it there, some people don't. And if you don't want it, you can just say bye-bye and it goes bye-bye. Just make sure that when you get rid of pages, you're actually not messing up where everything starts. See, because when I did that, it actually changed where this page starts. So keep that in mind. It might be better to just kind of copy and paste it over to your blank template, all the things you want, if you're not going to use everything that is on the formatted template. All right, as you can see here, it's already kind of got a bit of things already formatted right here. It's kind of got a thing for your header on the one side, and hey, it's even tells you what to put there. How convenient. So I'm going to put my name right there. And it's going to say, hey, this is formatted so it's the same as previous. This is event page header section 9, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you close it when you're done. And then, hey, chapter name right here. This automatically is your chapter name. So you can see chapter title is what it's called. And usually they kind of have your titles in full caps. I usually end up doing like chapter 1 or something like that. If you want to name them, that's totally cool too. If you do name them, make sure you take a chapter out and just put like 1, the day I died or something, or whatever it is your chapter is called. In this case, it's actually going to be preface, because that's the first start of my thing. Now you see here it says insert chapter here. This is already formatted. Remember what I said about the whole thing of first paragraph versus not first paragraph. You see how it switches up here when I click on the different paragraphs. So every time that I have it styled to be first paragraph of the chapter, it's always going to have no indent. When I go for the regular stuff, it's going to be like that. Now in the past, I've had to kind of cut and paste all of this stuff into a totally different document to get rid of previous formatting, blah, blah, blahs. So if you come into that kind of problem, just keep in mind that it might be a thing. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it over, and we're going to put it in here. And since this is the whole preface, oh hey, look at that. It's conveniently already put in there. We're going to say this is this. Now as you see, it has basically adopted this old formatting from the previous document. You can say use the destinations formatting, match destination formatting, keep as text only, or keep the original source. I'm going to go ahead and just say get rid of the original formatting. You see right here we already have an issue with the widow orphan thing, so we're going to go ahead and just do what's called a soft return. Actually do a hard return, and it'll make it come back together instead of all the way across the page. Because when you're doing a book, you want to use this particular little one right here, which is the full across the board, blah, 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 not the, oh, we're going to justify it this way, or we're going to justify it to the left, blah, 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 blah. Now, to make sure that we are on the correct format here, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. Is this the format I wanted? Yes, it is. Oh, yay, life is beautiful. Except this one has the indent, and we don't want the indent, so all we do is, ta-da! You can actually even just sometimes say, I'm going to just click on the paragraph, hit the style, and voila, it does it for you. Pretty handy, right? Okay. You can just keep on doing this throughout your entire book and putting all your chapters in. Now, when you're going all the way down to the end of your template, please note it only goes through 10 chapters. So if your book has more than 10 chapters, I strongly suggest doing something like this. Copying up the entire first page, saying C, Control C, blah, 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 whatever. Coming over here, and then we're going to say insert a page break. This is automatically set to stay with the same format, but be careful when you're doing this. If it doesn't like to stay with the same format, you could have issues. and then it kind of does funky things like this. Well, we know that this is supposed to be a chapter, not text. So here we go. And then this one's supposed to be first paragraph, so there we go. Not that it matters at the present moment, but because there's no actual text for our story there. And then another thing you are going to have to kind of keep an eye on is when you do that, you need to make sure you have the exact same number of spaces. So I'm actually going to copy that and then put it in there so that it is actually on the chapter side and has the exact number of spaces that I have. Otherwise, when you are looking at it in your show me how it's going to look preview, it actually will look kind of weird with where everything sits. It won't be even across the board, and it actually is more obvious in KDP when it has all of the teeny tiny little icons all lined up, and it's very easy to tell which aren't. Just make sure as you're going through adding in your content that you are actually making sure your chapter names match up and that you've got all of the spacing correct. So I'm going to go ahead and do another chapter, chapter 1, and see how easy this is. If your manuscript is pretty much finished and ready to go into a formatted form for your interior, super easy, super easy. Copy, go over to your template, copy the filler text, click and say, hey, yeah, paste. This is my original source, not the current stuff, so we're going to just say, keep it as text only, and voila, just make sure you do that. Return, hard return. I know I previously said soft, but it needs to be a hard return so that it gets rid of that stretching all the way across that you don't want to see. And then see it matches all that, then just go to the top of your chapter, make sure you click in there and say I want this to be the chapter start instead of just whatever random chapter format in the rest of the book, and it will get rid of that indent for you. And just keep on going. As usual, it'll show you all your little whatevers. If it bothers you, tell it to ignore or whatever. Otherwise, just keep going. But it's nice to kind of look at them and see, oh, hey, maybe I need to kind of do that with the grammar stuff. So I'm going to do this one more time. And since this is technically chapter 2, I'm going to need to make sure I update my chapter names. Don't forget to update your chapter names when you are doing this method, because it becomes really easy to get into the select, copy, paste kind of mode. So don't forget to do that. I'm looking for the end of my chapter. Where is the end of my chapter here? Apparently this is a very long chapter. There it is. So Control C is copy. Go over to your template, select, Control V or paste, then just tell it to say keep text only. It automatically puts it to there. If you have it where it stretches across like this, go to the end of your line, hard return, gets rid of it, life is good. Since you have to scroll all the way back up to where your chapter is anyway to get that no indent on that first paragraph. Make sure you are changing your chapter name, because this one's technically chapter 2. And if you're using, like I said, names like the day I died or whatever, feel free to do that. There are fancy things you can do for like adding special characters. You may have noticed that in a lot of books, the first part of the first sentence has a tendency to be all caps. Easiest thing to do is pick a specific number of words you want for that particular thing. For this example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is artificial light fill the room. I'm going to say not tab because I accidentally hit tab. But I'm going to caps lock it, and then I'm going to actually type it out. And voila, that's how my chapter is actually going to start. And I'm going to do that with every single chapter, that specific set number of words to be consistent. When you're doing the start of each chapter, make sure it is consistent in how it works and how it looks. So since I decided 5 is the magic number, and I'm going to change that to chapter 1, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this becomes Drifts of Thick Midnight Lace. And now it's consistent with the rest, which means I need to come back up here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do the same thing here. Make sure you do not include any of your punctuation in that, otherwise it will kill it. And voila, you can now see that it is pretty uniform in how it looks. I'm just going to say 1 chapter or whatever. And then just make sure you do that all the way through to the end of your manuscript. And of course, as you copy and paste, all of these lovely little things that it likes to pull up for grammar, etc., are going to pop up. And if they are exactly how you want to be, just ignore them or tell it to ignore the rule. If it's something that you missed in your editing, fix it. Because this is a great time to kind of do a quick scan through to fix those kind of formatting and sometimes grammar errors. Okay, now down to the bottom. In the template, it only has for back matter the about the author thing. And this is where you're going to put your author bio. Hopefully it is ready to go at this point. If not, then you really need to get on that, because this is where it goes. I am going to go ahead and show you again what it looks like. And I accidentally hit a different program, my bad. Alright, where'd you go? There you are. Okay. Back matter is not too hard to differentiate from the rest of everything. Oh, and make sure you got your page numbers formatted too. But I like to put the logo of my book again. For mine, I have a glossary. I just used my chapter heading from the styles, and then obviously you can see a little bit of an issue right there with how it formatted, but this is where you can kind of make up some of your own style if you want, because back matter is kind of different. This is basically glossary of terms, people, etc. for the book, and as you can see in this, there's a difference in the sides, your gutters. This is the inside, this is the inside, and that's the outside, which means that this is technically a page on the left, this is a page on the right, and it's larger on the middle part because that's where the glue goes and you don't want it to cut into your words. So make sure that if you're setting up your own template that you definitely keep that in mind. KDP can walk you through it, any number of websites can walk you through it, but it's so much easier to not have to worry about all those details when you use a template. Sorry, my husband's coughing in the background. But here I have a little pronunciation guide. On this one, I have created my own little style for that based off of the front matter style. These right here are actually images. On things like this, it's actually easier to do an image that you put in. Copy and paste. Make sure any images you put in there are at least 300 dpi or dots per inch. Otherwise, KDP or whichever print on demand or other service you are using will have a freak out because it will print fuzzy like an old school comic book that's been smeared and smudged. So at least 300 DPI. Again, here I have a map going on. Here's my about the author stuff. And again, website stuff. And you can kind of choose and whatever you want to put in there. Just make sure that the about the author, usually it's at the end of all your back matter. And if you have an illustrator, make sure you include them with their own about page as well. Alright, I hope that kind of gave you an idea of how the styles work. I know it's a lot of information. I probably went through things a lot faster than a lot of people may have liked, but by all means feel free to rewatch the video or reach out with any questions, comments, etc. if you want further instruction or insight from me on how to do any of this. You can also request help from me as well. I have no problem giving help to anybody and everybody who wants it. But yeah, just let me know. Drop a comment, send me an email through my website. If you haven't figured out what it is by now, then you're not paying attention to the video. But that's basically how to use the Microsoft styles in a nutshell with a template. If you want to be a glutton for punishment and learn how to do it completely and totally from scratch, by all means. I wouldn't recommend it when you can do it the supposed cheater method, the easier method, and just use a template. And like I said, KDP, you can get them and download them for free. You don't even have to make an account. I am Karlie with Dragon Key Press. I hope you learned something new. And I do hope that you will continue with us on our journey of self-publishing and what all you need to know and what I wished I'd known when we got this whole thing started.